Asato ma satgamaya. Just say it again. Asato ma satgamaya. One more time. Asato ma satgamaya. Now the second line 3 times. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Third line. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have learned this mantra before. You remember. So we should, if we chant, you chant it mentally every day when you wake up in the morning. Say, when you are saying Om, you look deep inside your heart in the space. Just check it. Just recite the word Om and say, look deep inside your heart. Om. Again, recite and look deep inside your heart. Om. Good. One more time. Om. So, Om is simply a name. Name of what? Name of my true nature. What is your name? Your name is Hayden. So, when I say Hayden, are you listening? You say yes. So, when you are saying Om and mind is looking inside, that will calm your mind. So, it is good to do this recitation practice every day in the morning and before going to sleep. Om. Now, the first line is Asato ma satgamaya. So when you sing this, recite this in your mind or loudly, you have to feel as if all the negativity is going away from you and going too far away from you, and all the positivity means the peace and the happiness are coming to you. So just say that Asato ma satgama and feel inside. Asato ma satgamaya, as if you are moving towards peace, happiness, love, wisdom. That is the way to recite. When you recite every day, just do it again and feel Asato ma satgamaya and feel Asato ma satgamaya. One more time and feel Asato ma satgamaya. So when reciting you feel it, that changes your mind. Otherwise, Yeah, you are simply reciting without the mind. Then mind is thinking something else. You are reciting, then no effect is there. Got it? Now see how what do you feel by reciting the second line? Tamasoma jyotirgamaya. So I am filled with the knowledge of the real self. All my ignorance is going away. What causes the ignorance? Ignorance causes the suffering. So now feel that inside your head. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya. All sufferings have gone. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya. Now the third line. Mrityorma amritangamaya. There is another meaning here. Are you scared of something, Hayden? Lot of things. So if we are fearless completely, fearless from anything in the world, we experience that fearlessness inside. That is the meaning. So when you are saying, reciting this mantra, look inside the heart, you are totally fearless, like a lion, like a tiger. Mrityorma amritangamaya. You feel it inside. Again, say it and feel. Mrityorma amritangamaya. Mrityorma amritangamaya. See that? That is how we have to do it. So promise to yourself that you recite this mantra every day in the morning with the feeling, and before going to bed, you lie down on the bed and you do it with the feeling, and the next day you will wake up in the morning totally fresh. Then every morning will be a good morning. Then there will never be a bad morning. And now, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti means peace. So so the peace to all, peace everywhere, and peace to me. And Om is the name of the real self, as if you are calling. Oh, mind is looking inside the heart. First Shanti to me, second Shanti to the body, third Shanti to the entire world. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now we start. First question is, what is darshan? And if you find what I'm speaking is relevant that you should remember, then you should note down. Darshan means knowledge. Darshan means knowledge. Darshan means experience. Darshan means awareness. Awareness of what? Knowledge of what? Knowledge of my real self. Now, do you see me? Yes. Do you see your house? Yes. How do you see your house? By sense organ. Sense of vision. How do you hear me? by the sense organ ears, right? So seeing is knowing. So we know the world outside by sense organs. Are you clear? We are understanding what is darshan. Now, do you see your thoughts? No, but you know you have a thought. Do you have a feeling? Do you see your feeling? Good feeling, bad feeling? Good feeling. But you know you have it. So you get a knowledge indirectly. Do you see that? So there is another way to knowledge is I know my feeling, I know my thoughts, right? I know my anxiety, but you cannot see them by the sense organs. Clear? So first way of knowing is by sense organs. Second way of knowing is indirectly without sense organ. Are you clear? So we know, I know you by seeing you, but I know I have a thought in the mind without the sense organ. Right? So two ways of knowing, the two ways of gaining the knowledge. What is the third way of knowing the knowledge? What is the third method of the knowledge? There is heavy rain outside, and I hear the noise. My mind says it is raining outside. It happens. So it is indirect way of knowing by putting a logic. So what logic I put? I hear the sound of the rain. So it must be raining outside. Hence I know it is raining outside without seeing it. Isn't it? There is a horn outside. I hear the sound. Oh, it is the horn of a car. Third way of knowing it, right? Did you understand that? So, there are three ways of knowledge. What is the first way? By sense organ. I see you, you see me by sense organ. We hear by ears, right? And second way of knowing is in the mind. I know my thoughts, I know my feeling, right? Third way of knowing is by inference. We say it by logic, by inference. I infer. I hear the sound of a rain outside, so then I infer. What I infer? That there is a rain outside. Clear? What is the fourth way of knowledge? Fourth way of knowledge is to know my real nature without sense organ, without inference, without indirect, without with sense organ, no. Without sense organ, no. By inference, no. So the fourth way of knowing is real self by the real self. That is known as darshan. Are you clear? First way of knowledge is by sense organ. Second way of knowledge is without sense organ. I cannot see my thoughts and feeling. Third way of knowledge is by inference. I gave an example of a horn that you hear. outside, but you don't see the car, and still you make an inference that, oh, it's a man of the car. And the fourth way of knowing is you know the real self by the self. That is known as darshan. Now, see, how do you know it? What is the fourth way of knowing it? And let me give you an example. What is darshan? You go to a dark room. Do you see anything in the dark room? Do you know anyone in the dark room? Come on, you know yourself. You know you are in the dark room. You always know it, even if there is a room is dark. Do you see that? Huh? You see, that is darshan. We do not forget even in dark room. We know ourselves when there is a total darkness. Even if there is no thought, I know myself. That is known as darshan. That is known as also vipassana. That is also known as preksha. That is also known as vipassana, preksha, witness, sakshi. That is the journey, real journey of yoga. Got it? So, yoga gives me a knowledge by which I know my real self. But why should I know my real self? Why should I know my. When I know my real self, I end all the suffering. Fearlessness comes. Permanent peace is experienced. Happiness is there. Cheerfulness is there. No more anxiety and tension is there in my life. So, did you understand why we want to practice yoga? To know my real nature. And when I know my real nature, then what happens? All the suffering comes to an end. Now go to the end of the page 1. Why should we practice yoga? So here I have written there are 3 types of suffering. First, suffering or pain, meaning all living beings. Huh? So if anyone causes the suffering from outside, huh? Suffering from outside, we bring an end to the suffering caused by others. Right? Second cause of suffering also comes to an end. What is known as they are natural disasters, calamities like flood, tsunami. And third type of suffering is the mental suffering. Did you get it? So all kinds of suffering comes to an end, and we are settled in peace, in happiness, in love, in wisdom. Did you get it? Are you clear? Should I move further? So, why shouldn't we move the mind within by one practice first before we start reading again? Close your eyes. So, when you close your eyes, why you close your eyes? Because you want to move the mind within. You're a wonderful kid, so I know. Eyes are closed and look deep inside your head. When you look deep inside your head, you may see, feel What you may see, feel darkness, emptiness, blankness, space. So keep looking into the space. When you are looking into the space, then bring the mind on the neck joint. Adjust and align your neck joint and make it comfortable. So, when you make it comfortable, then there is no movement. You feel the sensation. Just check it. You move the mind again on the neck joint and you feel the sensation there, being comfortable and steadiness. Move the mind on the shoulder joints. You move the mind on the shoulder joints. Be there. Feel the sensation. Comfortable and steadiness. What is the secret? If your mind is aware, mind is moving inside, your body will not move. Why the body will not move? Because body cannot move by itself without the mind. Body cannot move. So where the mind is looking inside the head in the space. You feel the entire body from the top of the head to the toes. The mind is feeling the entire body. And in that state, you feel sensation in the body, comfortable, and steadiness in the body. Now only mind goes to the head and the neck. You simply feel the sensation. What is the feeling of the sensation? I told you. The mind cannot see, well, the sense organ cannot see the sensation. But mind can feel the sensation without the sense organ. So you look at the head and the neck. Mind moves on the head and the neck. So not only you feel the sensation, but you experience the steadiness, stillness. Just see, if the body is not still, it means the mind is moving somewhere else. Now move the mind on the right arm. Mind moves on the right arm. Feel the right arm from the shoulder to the fingertips and experience. What do you experience? You experience sensation and stillness. That is, what is we understood the fourth way of knowledge. So we are moving into the understanding and experience. How do I apply the fourth method of knowledge? So move the mind on the left arm. Now see, sometime when I say move the mind on the left arm, your left arm moves. No, you do not move any arm, body. You move the mind on the left arm. You feel the sensation and the stillness. So we are experimenting. First way of knowledge by the sense organ, second way of knowledge without the sense organ, third way of knowledge by inference. No, we don't apply that. And the fourth way of knowledge we are applying. So what? Move the mind on the rib cage. You feel the sensation and you experience the stillness. Move the mind on the belly. You feel the sensation and you experience the stillness. You move the mind on the back of the body. You are feeling the back of the body. Your eyes are closed. And when you feel it, You feel the sensation, you experience the stillness. Now look at the right leg mentally. Move the mind on the right leg mentally. No movement in the body is there. You experience the sensation and the stillness. You move the mind on the left leg. You feel the sensation and you experience the stillness. The entire body. Now the body is totally still. You are feeling the sensation. In that state, now look at the breath. When the breath goes in, count mentally in one. When the breath comes out, count mentally out one, in two, out two. Do not change the rate and the rhythm of the breath. Just count in two, out two, in three, out three. Go on counting the breath. Go on counting the breath. You will find a sense of bodilessness. You will find as if the mind is moving into the inner space. That is the beautiful, you are doing beautiful. Continue counting the breath. Do not change the rate and the rhythm of the breath. Do not change the rate and the rhythm of the breath. You are counting the breath. You are counting. You see, when you are counting the breath, the mind is living within. And when the mind is living within, then the body will have a state of sensation in the stillness. So the mind begins communicating with your real self, and that brings the relaxation and calmness in you. How easy it is, how simple it is. That is how we should relax and calm down our mind. That is the true nature of yoga. So when we have a glimpse of that calmness, independent, or it is not dependent on anything outside, that is what the calmness we need to live in. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Did you understand that fourth way of knowledge? How the fourth way of knowledge is done by moving the mind within, living within. Then we know. Do you feel calm? You see that we sometimes we say, no, mom, buy me a smartphone, then I will be relaxed. Relaxation and calmness is not present in the phone. How it can give you calmness? Do you see that? So the calmness and the peace is already within us. And what is within us can be achieved by yoga. So now come to another paper after the suffering. It is known as Rig Veda. Rig Veda is the oldest written scripture in Sanskrit language that is available to the world today. Right? So it has many definitions of yoga. Rig Veda, which is almost more than 5,000 years old text. So now we will understand what there is Yajurveda, another text, what it says. It says aspirant of yoga should learn and practice the eightfold yoga. Five yama. Do you know five yama? Five niyama. You see that? You know yama, niyama. Then five yama. Huh? Then five niyama. What are the five yamas? Non-violence, truthfulness, abstaining from theft, celibacy, and non-stealing. What are the five niyamas? Contentment, cleanliness, austerity, study of the holy books, and trust in the God. So these niyamas are five. And after that, what is the third organ limb of yoga? Asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So what we are talking about? By doing these eight-limbed path of yoga, we understand the fourth way of knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of real self. What is real self? Where it is located? Deep inside the heart. We simply say it is real self. What are the attributes of the real self? Truth, peace, happiness, love, wisdom. So, what happens when we know real self? We are constantly living in the state of fearlessness. I told you, complete security, peace, and happiness. That is the journey of yoga. Now, see what the Rig Veda says. Go little down. So, Rig Veda says yogi has control on the five sense organs of action. What are the five organs of action and five organs of perception and the mind through the power of yoga? What is the five organs of five sense organs? Do you know that? Five sense organ? You know it. You have. And five organs of action, you know it, you have. So we take over these five organs of five sense organs. What the five sense organ does? Five sense organ gives us the knowledge. What five motor organs does? They are the organs of action. And then mind. So what happens by practice of yoga? Yoga, you take over all the activities of the sense and the motor organs and the mind. After that, when you practice yoga, then you see. So here you can change. The God is nothing but real self. It is the real self. Huh? It is the real self. It is not nothing to do with the God at present, for the sake of understanding. Here, so by the practice of yoga, yoga means practice of all the eight-limbed path. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Clear? So then there is another great book, Samaveda. So what it says, O God, kindly be firmly settled in our hearts during the yogic and devotional morning practices of inhalation and exhalation. So when you practice pranayama daily, it also helps you to achieve success in the highest path of yoga. That is meditation. Clear? Understood? Yes. So when you smile, then I know that you have understood. So when you remain serious, then I say, oh, you have not understood. So now come down, lineage and tradition. What is lineage? We always talk of tradition, lineage, tradition. So we are learning what is our lineage, what is our tradition. So, what is the tradition? Tradition in Sanskrit is known as parampara. I have written just after tradition. Tradition is known as parampara in Sanskrit. So, what is that tradition means? When the teacher gives the knowledge to the student and the student becomes the teacher. Now, that teacher who was student before passes on the knowledge to his or her student, right? So from one generation knowledge passes on to the second, to the third, to the fourth. So that tradition, passing of the knowledge from one generation to the other generation, is known as the tradition. Did you get it? Say, for example, you are learning relaxation practice, you just did it, and then you are inspired. You guide the practice to your sibling, and then your sibling passes on that knowledge to the other. That is also a tradition. So you have a greater responsibility. Not only you have to practice, but you have also to give the practice to your sibling so that so that everyone lives in calmness, in peace, in love, and in wisdom. Got it? So now see, a belief, principle, or way of acting that people in a particular society or group have continued to follow for a long time. So the second characteristic of the tradition is that, you know, that knowledge is passed on for a very long time. That makes one, that makes the tradition. So how old is yoga? More than 6,000 years. How the knowledge was transmitted from the master to the student who become the master. Again, he passes on to his student, or she passes on to the student, one after the other. So when you are passing on that knowledge and the practice for thousands of years, then what happens? It becomes a tradition. Clear? That is why we say yoga tradition. Why we say yoga tradition? Because the knowledge is passed on from the master to the student. Again, the student becomes the master who passes on the knowledge to his or her student. Again, third generation, fourth, fifth, right? Did you understand that? So when the knowledge is passed for hundreds and thousands of years, we say it is tradition. Clear? Tradition. So there is a little difference between tradition and lineage. So the word lineage, if you go a little deeper, the second last next in the same page, a lineage in Sanskrit it is known as vansha. Lineage is vansha. Lineage is. So now see that if I am a teacher and I pass on the knowledge to directly to my son, my kids, my sibling, then what happens? That is one way to understand a lineage. But not only you, I'm passing on the knowledge to you. So, and then you directly pass on the knowledge to another one. So it becomes a master and a disciple tradition. So that master, then disciple, then he becomes the master and disciple. So lineage is like an ancestry. You know ancestry? So yoga ancestry is based on qualification and realization, not on inheritance. That is most important point. What it means? That I see if my son is capable of learning yoga, he receives the right knowledge, and if he qualifies that, then he becomes a part of the lineage. Otherwise, you become the part of the lineage because you are learning from me, right? So the members of the personal family are directly related to that person or who lived a long time before him or her. There are two ways. Either in yoga, in ancestry, we see the relationship of father, mother, son, daughter, etc. etc. Here we don't see that. Here we see that are you qualified to receive the knowledge? You got the knowledge. So that becomes the lineage. Which lineage we belong to? We belong to Avadhuta tradition and lineage. My master name is Swami Lakshman Das Avadhut. My master name is Swami Lakshman Das Avadhuta. So you see the last name Avadhuta. So Avadhuta is the lineage and Avadhuta is also a tradition. Clear? So we are learning Avadhuta tradition and the lineage. So now see that Avadhuta means complete dispassion and detached. My master used to live in the Himalayas alone for more than 40 years. He used to live in the cave. He has never seen for 40 years no mall, no food store, even when there was no COVID. In those days, there was no COVID. He was living in the Himalayas. So, what happens? So, why he was living there? Totally in the state of dispassion, totally detached. So, that category of the masters who are totally homeless, jobless, but full of knowledge and wisdom of yoga, they are known as Avadhuta. They don't own anything of the world outside, but they have a wisdom, they have a knowledge. So everyone respects him. They receive the knowledge. They provide these masters the food. Even these masters do not have any monastery. They do not own anything. When this Avdhuta tradition started, Dattatreya was one of the greatest Avdhuta master. Lived almost 3000 years ago. Dattatreya, his name was Dattatreya. He started that tradition. And my master's name is Swami Lakshman Das Avdhuta. So you are also the indirect student of Swami Lakshman Das Avdhuta because I am passing on the knowledge what I learned from him. Right? We are understanding tradition, we are understanding lineage, right? Yoga tradition, we are understanding yoga tradition, we are understanding yoga lineage. So Dattatreya was a great master. Now we go little down. Avdhuta masters. Avdhuta masters are beyond body, mind, live and work as a perfect instrument of the highest consciousness. What it means? They have no enmity, they have no anger, anxiety, duality, conflict against anyone. They live in total, permanent happiness, love, and wisdom. They are always ready to bless and guide. They don't own anything. That is how their name was given Avdhuta. So there are many types of Avdhuta masters. And now we are going to understand the many types of Avdhuta. Avdhuta master can be present in and around you and can be present, can be with, with, with their particular garb or the clothes. So Brahma Avdhuta. So what is Brahma Avdhuta? An Avdhuta from birth. There was a great master, Swami Vivekananda, who at the age of 26, 27 came to US 100 years ago. He was a great master, very young. So some people achieve the highest state of yoga at a very young age because of their birth. So they are known as Brahma Avdhuta. There is another category, Shaiv Avdhuta. What is Shaiv Avdhuta? An Avdhuta who takes sannyasa. Sannyasa means they become monk and they live in the caves, in the solitude, and spend most of the time in meditation. They don't come out of the Himalayan caves. Do you know about Himalayas? Have you heard about it? Have you read? Himalayas, big mountains, 24 hours snow is there. At the height of 15, 16,000 feet above the sea level. I spent many days and months with my master in those caves. I lived with him. I served him. By serving, I learned from him. That's another way of gaining the knowledge. You take care of all the needs of a master in those days, more than 40 years ago. You are not even 20. Think of 40 years before. I used to stay with him, living in the caves, very cold, but I used to learn by serving him. So there are second category is known as Shaiva Avdhuta. The third category is Veera Avdhuta, an Avdhuta who has taken sannyasa, who takes again a monkhood, and who wears Rudraksha. You know Rudraksha? Rudraksha is a seed. It is a seed of a tree which is considered highly auspicious. Highly auspicious. You see that? The black one, black seed. So that seed is known as Rudraksha. It is a seed of a tree, fruit of a tree. From the fruit, we bring the seed out, and it is considered highly auspicious. So, in the Avdhuta tradition, the third type of Avdhuta wear these Rudraksha. They keep the wooden stick, drum, and small axe in his hand. I will send you a picture of my master. So you will understand that what my master used to. So then we have Kula Avdhuta, the next level. Kula is one of the traditional school of yoga and the tantra. So that is another by the did you get this is all the information that you should know. We belong to Avdhuta lineage and Avdhuta tradition. So now see that Avdhuta is the highest order of monkhood. They become monk in yoga. So the first level is They live in the household, they do all their practices. That is one level. Second level is Bahudaka. They are supported by many people in the society. They open their monastery and they help and serve the people. They have a mission. Third level is Hansa. They become like a swan. Do you know swan? So there is another category of the swan found in the Himalayas. And we have many lotus flowers in the Himalayas. So why we say that these masters are like swan? So in the stem of a lotus flower there is a white milky liquid. So what swan does? Swan separates that milky liquid from the water and drink the milk, leave the water, right? So why the masters are known as like swan? Because they leave all the anxiety, suffering, duality, conflict from their life. They live in absolute peace. They live in absolute peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. That is why they are known as Swan, Hansa. Clear? Then there is another category known as Paramhansa, Paramhansa, Great Swan. They always live in the caves in the Himalayas. They do not come down into the society. And Turiyatita, the next level is they become superhuman beings. And the last one is Avdhuta. So these are the different categories from the lower to the highest. That is why Avdhuta is known as the highest level of uh, learning. They are the highest masters in the Himalayan tradition or in the tradition of yoga and meditation. Did you get it? Now let us know a little bit about Dattatreya. Dattatreya is the name of one of the greatest Avdhuta masters. Dattatreya, many people say he is a god who is an incarnation of divine trinity. The word Datta means given. Datta is called so because the divine trinity has given themselves in the form of a son. What it means, Dattatreya was born from the sage or another master known as Atri and his mother Anusuya. That is why we say, you see that Atri and Atreya. So from Atri, his father Atri. So we say Dattatreya. Datta means given from his father Atri. That is why his name is Dattatreya. He is known as the Lord of Yoga. What Patanjali is known as a codifier of yoga. Who is the codifier of yoga? You can write down Patanjali. Who is the Lord of yoga? Dattatreya. And who is the originator of yoga? Shiva and Krishna. Clear? Three words. Lord of yoga. Lord of yoga means what? You have heard that Lord Mountbatten. So these are the symbolic labels used in Britain. Lord. Even the judge is also known as lordship. Why? They are respected, the highest, to pass on the judgment. So the Lord of Yoga means what? He knows everything about yoga very deeply. He knows everything about yoga. That is what the Lord of Yoga is. The Lord of Yoga is Dattatreya. And the codifier of yoga is Patanjali. We have heard. You have heard about it? Patanjali. And originator of yoga is Shiva and Krishna. Right? So many people feel they have their own understanding. Huh? What they say, many people say that he is the reincarnation of Vishnu. Even my master is known as the reincarnation of Krishna. Krishna is the originator of yoga. So when you have total perfect knowledge, then you are given these titles. Right? Dattatreya is also known as Adi Guru. What is Adi? Adi means the first teacher of yoga. So who is the first teacher of yoga? We say Dattatreya. Dattatreya belongs to a Bhuta tradition. He is known as Adinatha. Clear? Simple. Adinatha. Adinatha is Dattatreya. Adinatha is sometimes also known as Shiva. Coming down. Yoga in history. Are you listening to me? Are you paying attention? Very good. So, what the history teaches us? History teaches us a particular subject, how it is developed, how it influences our life. That is why we want to understand the history of yoga. Huh? How people lived in ancient times. They lived in ancient times. There was no gas stove. There was no electrical stove. How they used to cook the food? They had two stones, they strike to each other, and the fire is produced. And that is how they used to burn the woods. And on the wood, they used to cook their food. So we learned from them. And that is how we have now the gas stove in our home. We need not to bring those old stones and strike them. We have a matchbox now. We have a gas lighter. So, history gives us a context to understand how the knowledge developed. Clear? So, now going further. History, Indian scholars, even I have doubt about it, but just for the sake of understanding, Indian scholars claim that yoga is more than 50,000 years old. You may be 14, 13, 14, and 15 years old. Think of 50,000 years old. So many scholars did lot of research, and they say it is not more than 10,000 years old. 10,000 years old. Why? They found the oldest text, Rig Veda, around that time. Clear? Are you read that? So Rig Veda, as old as 10,000 years, has many references of yoga. That is why we learn in Rig Veda, in Yajur Veda, in Sam Veda. These are the four texts. We have many definitions of yoga there. That is what we have already understood above in that document. for the kids, I will talk about that. For the kids like you, even there are great epics. Epics means great story books. There are two great story books known as Mahabharata and Ramayana. Mahabharata and Ramayana teaches yoga in a in the form of a story. You see that in the form of a story, right? Now we have to understand the history of yoga can be divided into four or five broad categories. Oldest yoga, pre-classical yoga. Pre-classical means when the classical texts were not available. And then after pre-classical, there is a classical yoga, then there is a post-classical, and this is four or five divisions. And then we can add even the modern yoga. Clear? So now go to the oldest time. What is oldest yoga? Yogic teaching found in four Vedas known as Vedic yoga. What is the meaning of Veda? Knowledge. Knowledge of what? So here we are focusing on Veda, knowledge of real self. So any book that gives you the knowledge of the real self is Veda. Clear? You see, Asatoma Satgamaya, we just did it. It also comes from the same Veda text. Mrityurma Mritangamaya. So all these great mantras are a part of the Vedic Veda books. Right? Now understand how the yoga knowledge and the practices were developed. In the very beginning, in oldest time, what was there? Vedic yoga is a yoga of rituals. People used to practice many kinds of ritual, offer sacrifices for a prolonged period of time. In those days, earlier, very early. So they were performing all the rituals, and they that is how they are able to focus their mind within, purify their mind. Right? In the oldest yoga. Then comes the second category. It is pre-classical yoga. Where is pre-classical yoga? In the pre-classical yoga, many teachers together, their knowledge and expertise were merged together. So we find in great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. How many lines you can write on a A4 page? Maybe 15, 20 lines. So Mahabharata contains more than 100,000 lines. Think of it. So 100,000 divided by 20 lines in a single page. Oh, it becomes maybe 3 and 4,000 pages book. That long book was written in the pre-classical yoga time. Right? Did you understand? Pre-classical. Same thing with the Ramayana. Ramayana was also a great epic. It contains around 40,000 verses, means 80,000 lines. Think of it. 80,000 lines. 20 lines in a single page. Huh? And you divide 40,000 lines. You can calculate the number of pages that contains in that book. It both the books gives you the yoga in the story format. In the story format. Many stories are there. So that forms the pre-classical yoga. From the Mahabharata, there is a great text of yoga that is known as Bhagavad Gita, or simply the Gita. It contains 18 chapters, 700 verses, means 1400 lines. It gives you everything about yoga. What it does it mean? Oh, you have stress, so you can understand what is stress and how to remove the stress. It is there in the Gita. How to live with how to live a family life in peace and harmony. There are instructions there. How to meditate. There is one chapter devoted to it. How to know the real self. There is another chapter devoted to it. So Bhagavad Gita is known as one of the most important texts of yoga. Did you understand that? So the pre-classical yoga, the two great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, and from the Mahabharata, there is there is a selection of the topics and the verses that becomes Gita. Gita is known as one of the great texts of yoga. Now come to classical yoga. So classical yoga, you have already heard about Patanjali. Patanjali is the name of a codifier of yoga we just discussed. Huh? We just discussed. Who is the codifier of yoga? Patanjali. Who is the lord of yoga? Dattatreya. And who is the originator of yoga? Shiva and Krishna. So, classical yoga means we have a classical text. There are many texts, but one of them most famous is Yoga Sutra. Who is the codifier of Yoga Sutra? Patanjali. Patanjali has written 195 sutras. What is asana? Patanjali says, Sthir Sukham Asanam. Relaxed and poised manner of the body is known as asana. Sthir Sukham Asanam. What is asana? Where the body is steady, where the mind is relaxed and calm. That is the way to practice asana. Clear? So then the master also explains in the sutra. I'm talking of classical yoga. I'm giving a couple of examples. What does that mean by the sutra? Classical yoga. Classical yoga means it is compressed. It is written in an organized and systematic manner. So that forms the classical yoga. And under the classical yoga, Patanjali was a great master who wrote Yoga Sutra. In the Yoga Sutra, you have only 195 formulas. I am calling Sutra as a formula. Do you understand what is the formula of a water? H2O. What is the formula of the air that we breathe in? Oxygen, O2. What is the formula of a salt? NaCl, sodium chloride. Huh? That is how we learn the formulas from the chemistry. Similarly, we have the formulas of yoga written by Patanjali. So he has written everything. You ask him what is pranayama, swasa praswas, yorgati vicheda pranayama. Hmm? What is meditation? Tatra pratyekatanata dhyanam, when the mind continuously flows in one direction inside, it becomes meditation. So he has defined all the principles of yoga and also the practices of yoga. Right? And now coming to post classical yoga. So after the classical period, then there are post classical period. It is a period of Upanishads. What is Upanishad? I think I discussed about it. Upanishad are the group of books. There are, some people say there are 365 Upanishads, and some people say 108 Upanishads. They are books known as, collectively known as Upanishads. So, what is the meaning of up? Sitting nearby, first syllable. Second one, ni, commitment. Third word, shad. Shad means to loosen the effect of suffering, to release one from the ignorance, and to awaken to the real nature. So these texts are very important texts. If you study and understand, you become totally fearless. You discover peace and happiness in your life all the time, 24 by 7. That is one part in the post classical yoga. There are many, many books were written. And the Hatha Yoga books were also written in that period. Post classical yoga. Hatha Yoga was written. Many texts of Hatha Yoga. Many techniques of asana, pranayama, cleansing practices were written, were understood and written in the form of a text in the post classical yoga. Then comes the modern yoga. Huh? The fifth category, modern yoga. So you see that I have written in the modern yoga, there was a master, Swami Vivekananda. He visited our country in 1893. Our country means in US. He visited US in 1893 in Chicago. He was a great master, a great young yoga master, whose master was Ramakrishna Paramhansa. And he became famous overnight when he spoke about yoga first time in our US country. So who was the first master who visited US? Swami Vivekananda. Do you see under the title of modern yoga? Third line, he was Swami Vivekananda, a great young yogi, a disciple of a great master, under the heading of modern yoga. He presented the rational and logical interpretation of many scriptures and wrote 4 classics of yoga. If you are deeply interested and you want to progress very fast, you can Google these Karma Yoga by Swami Vivekananda, Jnana Yoga by Swami Vivekananda, and these books are available free of cost as a PDF file. So you can download them and you can study them. But if you feel bored, then let me know. I will remove your boredom. I'll make you understand these 4 classics of yoga. So the first time in our country, in US, Swami Vivekananda came. Then after 1892 and 3, another master, yoga master came, whose name is in 1920, Yogananda, Paramhans Yogananda, visited Boston. So first was in Chicago. Who was there? Swami Vivekananda. Who was the second master? Paramhans Yogananda. When? 1920. And he is also became very famous. Clear? Even before that, in 1902, there was another great master, Ramatirtha, Swami Ram Tirtha. He was a great mathematics teacher. And then he spent many years in the Himalayas. He became one of the great masters. So, Swami Ram Tirth, third master, in 1902, he visited California. And he stayed in US for 2 years and he taught yoga. 1902. So the first one was 1892, Swami Vivekananda in Chicago. In 1902, Swami Ramatirtha in California, and Paramhans Yogananda in 1920 in Boston. Clear? In 1919, fourth master, Yogendra Mastamuni. Mastamuni came to yoga and founded the center of Hatha Yoga. Understand? These are the name of the masters. Then there is another name of the master is Baba Bharat, master of William Walker. Master of William Walker. So you see that William Walker was an American, an attorney, merchant, publisher, and author. He was also a pioneer of a new thought movement. He is the author of many books. So what happens? He became a disciple of Baba Bharata. Later on, he was known as Naram Charak, 1920. So these are the 5 or 6 masters who came to US from India and made yoga popular. Clear? After that, many masters came. Who are the masters? Swami Muktananda, Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, Swami Satyanand Saraswati, Swami Rama, all these different names. Swami Venkateshwanand, Prabhupada, Rajneesh, Vishuddhanand, Vishnu Devanand, Chinmay, Jiddu Krishnamurti, UG Krishnamurti, Swami Geetananda, Ravi Shankar, HR Nagendra, Mata Nirmala Devi. Lot of many people came to US. Acharya Mahapragya. Do you see? These, you even do not know the name. We know only the modern name of yogis. So, these masters, that completes our this lesson. So, before going, we will do one practice. So, 2 practices we have done. Now we will do the third one, which I normally say self-awareness practice. Anytime, anywhere. You feel stress, you feel fatigue and tired, you should do this practice. Are you ready? Are you ready? Yes. So, close your eyes. Understand again the different steps and the way I give you the practice. So, eyes are closed. When eyes are closed, where the mind is looking? The mind is looking Deep inside. Where deep inside? Deep inside your head or the heart? Very good. So eyes are closed, mind is looking deep inside. Check. You are comfortable with the body. There is no movement. You feel the sensation in the entire body. When you look at the body joints, you find the sensation and you experience comfort and the steadiness. Very gentle and the soft breathing. We will start through both the nostrils, moving our ribs, but our mind remains fixed deep inside the forehead. Keep looking inside the forehead in the space and start breathing quick and short and gentle breath as if you are playing with the breath. Just play with the breath. Continue. Continue to play with the breath. Continue to play with the breath, keeping the body totally steady. I know you are very strong. We want to go deeper into the peace and happiness. Now stop it. Take a deep breath into the belly first, then into the chest, up to the throat. Keep your focus inside the forehead and start humming sound louder, deeper, and longer. Again, take your time to inhale deeply. Continue to inhale deeply. Let it take time. Longer the breath, better the humming, greater the result. Your brain will calm down, move into a deeper state of calmness and peace. You feel lot of vibration, relaxation, sometimes even sleepiness, but continue to deepen the practice. Now looking at the breath, no humming now. Stay there as stillness in the body continues. And the breath is going in, count mentally in one. When the breath comes out, out one. In two, out two. No change in the rate, in the rhythm of the breath. We are moving the mind deeper and deeper within. The more deeper the mind goes in, the better it is. Continue counting. Continue counting the breath. Continue counting the breath. No change in the rate and the rhythm of the breath. You simply drop the counting on the breath when it goes in. When it comes out, simple. You're not doing anything, you're just playing with the breath. When you play with the breath, the mind goes deeper inside. If we have done the previous two steps rightly, it gives you a sense of lightness inside the head, calmness inside the head, tingling in the body, and sometimes we experience the freezing of the body. Continue counting the breath. You're counting the breath. Sometimes we forget the counting, no problem. You're counting the breath. No change in the rate and the rhythm of the breath. So it gives you an experience of tingling, numbness in the body. Be with it. Freezing of the body. It gives you a calmness, lightness, peace inside the head. And that moment, the mind enjoys counting the breath. And when the mind enjoys counting the breath, we know the mind is living within. We are moving into a meditative state. Now stop the counting when the breath goes in. Just drop mentally the mantra Om Shanti. Mentally, no movement of the lips and tongue. So when you are saying Om Shanti, let the mind move deeper inside. Look at the peace when the breath comes out. Om Shanti. The mind merges into the space. Breath again goes in Om Shanti. Mentally, breath comes out Om Shanti. Goes in Om Shanti. Comes out Om Shanti. Goes in Om Shanti. Comes out Om Shanti. Om is our real nature and Shanti means the peace. So the peace is oozing out from the real self. That is how we keep our understanding. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. That's quite a good trick. One eye is closed and other eye you are looking. Yeah. So now let me chant. Keep your eyes closed. Om Shanti. Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us chant together 3 times. Take another breath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Again, inhale deeply first. Inhale again. Then Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Inhale again. Inhale again. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes, open the eyes inside. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. How are you, Hayden? I'm not listening. You have to write it. Oh, very relaxed. You see that? What happens if you are always relaxed in your life? That increases your productivity, increases your performance. Everyone says you are the best kid. See that? So you have to become the best kid, right? Any question that you like to ask me? So we will meet next week again. Be happy, keep smiling. That's good.